Okay, Assalamualaikum. Today we're going to talk about the NAR settlement. I kind of promoted this a little bit online as well in case people are interested, they can tune in. Just going to give it a few seconds before we start. Okay, let's start. Bismillah. So, when it comes to the NAR settlement, there's been a lot of talk, a lot of conversations going on. I've noticed even on one of the posts, on one of the pages, the Bangladeshi pages for support, someone came and wrote a whole post about, be careful. You have to be mindful. Agents are pretty much scheming. Let's talk about it a little bit. First, let's talk about what actually happened. So, there was this whole lawsuit that took place, which pretty much ended up settling, and because it settled with some new conditions and guidelines to follow come August 17th. So, what day is it in full effect? August 17th. But if you're someone who's an agent that's ahead of the curve, you're probably implementing all these things. I gave my clients a heads up back in like June, July. Even though they weren't probably going to be affected by this, I prepared them because what if their house search didn't end in June? What if they had to keep looking for a house in July, August? You want to make sure people are educated and they have an idea of what to expect. So what's going on? What are the changes? The first change is that they're saying from August 17th, sellers will no longer be required to cover the buyer agent's commission. So the reason why I'm kind of smiling and laughing at this is because this commission was always negotiable. There is a market standard that people follow. But let me give you an example so maybe you could understand it a little bit better. Okay? Let's say you have a friend who's a car mechanic. All right? And that car mechanic charges $180 per axle to do your brakes and rotors. But when you go to him, because he appreciates you so much, he decides to say, you know what, we'll do it for 150. That shows business in itself. We're not talking about real estate. This is the part where everyone kind of trips up. Doesn't matter, real estate, food industry, the car industry, any industry that's business related, everything is negotiable. Why do you think people pay $700 for a Louis Vuitton purse? Why don't we have people out on the streets screaming and saying, "Hey, you're only making this purse for $10 or $50. Why are you selling for 700? Why doesn't anyone go to Nike and say, why you have child labor in China and then you're manufacturing these products and shoes and you're selling for 150?" So what ends up happening is people end up ignoring the real picture of the world itself around them, and whatever they pick up as something to talk about, they talk about. So that's why you always hear things like car mechanics are scams. You'll hear things like real estate agents are scams, right? These things will happen pretty much no matter where you go. Now, are there people who scam you? Yeah, 100%. 100%, right? There are going to be people who scam you in any business industry. They even joke about it when you go on Craigslist. They say, don't buy from this city because and don't buy from these type of people because they'll scam you. Okay, these are stereotypes. There's truth to some stereotypes, but you have to understand that. But when it comes to business, understand that this whole rule coming into effect on August 17th, telling you that you don't have to provide for the buyer's commission. What do you guys think was a for sale by owner when the for sale by owner said, I just want to negotiate with buyers directly? There's no agent even in between, right? There are some for sale by owners who didn't have a listing agent, and they didn't want to deal with a buying agent either. That's how people bought houses. To this day, you can still do that. The fact that if I say today, I want to sell my house to my friend with no agent in between us, there's nothing wrong with that. So the fact that the way it's worded and the way people are wording it, that you no longer have to. Well, this wasn't the case even before. You didn't have to. People chose to. So that kind of brings up the question, why did people choose to? It's to make sure things are in balance. And that's gonna be the point that we're discussing here today. Even moving forward, sellers can still compensate the buyer's agent. Sellers can still compensate. The terminology might be different, but sellers can still compensate the 3%. And that's going to come down to the seller, but it's not something that's brand new, like, oh my God, eye opening. This was never done before. No, this was done before. Even when it comes to commission, there are situations where you're able to, even in the past, when the seller was giving a 2% commission, you could negotiate that up with the seller as a buyer's agent. If you're an agent, you can understand the terminology, you can follow the discussion a little bit better. As a buyer's agent, I personally negotiated with the seller's agent to make sure the seller provides more commission and more compensation towards me as an agent. That was doable. In the past, it was doable. Does that make sense? So for me to say, why can't I do this now? I don't feel that way because I feel I can do this now. It's definitely uh, something you can do. It's practical. It's just that no one thought about it. So, okay, who are these people who weren't thinking about it? This is the part that kind of sucks to hear, but it's the truth. Buyers agents who didn't want to do anything straightforward and just wanted to coast by, show some houses, and make $9,000 gross, not net, but $9,000 gross. Those are the guys. You sell a house for 300K, you bring in 9K after taxes, you have 6K. Great, I made 6K for the month. That's great. That's how much I make from my regular job. I got that by doing this. I don't have to do much about it. I don't have to explain anything. I don't have to do any work. I don't think there's anything insanely unfair about what's happening new. One of my friends texted me and he said, "Hey Sayed, what's this whole thing? Here's another change that's happening. What's this whole thing that I have to sign a contract before I go see houses with a buyer's agent?" That's a new rule that came out. You have to. Now, this is actually a new rule. You have to sign off with a buyer's agent before you show them houses. You have no idea that myself, my team lead Said Mohsen, everyone in our team, we advise people to do this. We have been advising this for the last 2 years, that don't show houses to people if they don't sign an agreement with you, unless you are extremely confident they're going to sign with you. I have had experiences, and if you're an agent, you have had experiences with buyers who are also scammers. It's not just agents are scammers, buyers are scammers, sellers are scammers. Listen, when money is involved, trust me, everybody's looking to scam. So only people with good, genuine principles would actually uphold their values. And if you're not those people, the way you combat that, it's in the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. You write contracts, you write agreements to make sure there is no discrepancies, to make sure everyone's on the same page. Because shaitan will whisper to you and you think, okay, I'm talking about me, personal experience, not just once. I'm talking about multiple times, over and over and over again. There was a situation, I helped someone buy a house. No, I didn't help him buy a house. I helped him get an offer under contract. I showed him probably 20 houses, at least 20 houses or so. And I finally got him a house he liked. He went forward with it. Before the inspection, he canceled it. He backed out. I said, no problem. I understand. Maybe whatever it is, we'll try round two. Second house, I got him the house he liked. I got the offer under contract. Guess what? Even though he already signed these deals with me, at the same time, that same week he went under contract with me on the property, he went with his friend to go see a house. Why? I have no idea. Don't ask me why. People do whatever they want to do because people are people, right? Some people don't have common sense. He could have easily asked me and said, "Can I also go see this house and then put an offer in?" But maybe, I don't know, maybe he felt intimidated. I don't know what it was. I thought I was giving him the house he liked. And that's what he presented to me. So it's like he was scamming me because of how he's behaving towards me. You see, it's not just only agents who do this, buyers do this. I have examples of sellers who do this, right? So it's the real world. It's called human beings, and human beings make errors. They make mistakes. And I'm going to show the picture for the other side of it too. Some people are only saying, oh, real estate agents are scheming people. They are. Real estate agents are scheming people. But people are also scheming real estate agents. It happens both ways, and I don't think we're aware of that. And I think it's because it's easier to say that because majority of the people are the ones who are buyers, not agents. So it's easier to pinpoint a minority from the majority. So the new rule that came in is that I have to sign a contract before I go see a house. This client of mine didn't tell me, went under contract and closed with that house, and then he told me, oh, I'm sorry, how can I back out this? Now, obviously, I can take my legal action towards him, but I chose not to. Because one, I don't want to go through the headache. Two, I just lost respect for the guy. He's a Muslim as well, unfortunately, one of our own people. But I said, you know what? It's not worth it for me. and I just let it go. And I'm not the only agent that experienced this. Other agents told me about their experiences. It's a whole scene out here where people. And the thing is, he didn't even save any money by doing that. He didn't make any money by doing that either. So in reality, he just was dishonest. So that's why you need contracts. So you should have a signed agreement with your clients. Why are you showing someone a house if they don't agree to work with you? Why are you not an exclusive agent? This rule helps us buyer agents. It forces the people to say, I'm actually going to sign with you. And when they are signing with you, you can build this discussion. And here's the discussion. The discussion is this: you may have to pay up to 3% commission of a house. You may have to, not you will. You see, if the seller provides the 3% commission, you as a buyer don't have to pay me that in that case. But if the seller doesn't provide it, me as an agent, this is the commission. This is my non-negotiable. This is what I'm going to get no matter what. And someone's going to say, well, how dare you say this is your non-negotiable? And this goes back to the example I gave all the way at the beginning. If you remember it, the Louis Vuitton example. They have a non-negotiable. It's $750 for a purse. It's just what it is. You either buy it or you don't buy it. And that's business, guys. So when you have your business and you want to establish a certain amount, you say, this is my service. This is my charge for that service. You explain your service. And if they want to jump on, let them jump on. And that's upon you as an agent to explain that here's what I'm going to be doing. But if you're a showing agent and you don't know much about real estate and you're getting caught up in this and you don't know how to back up your services with the knowledge you bring in, the experience you bring in, the connections and network you bring in, the hard work you bring in, your communication that you bring in, the only way you can do that is if you actually work on real estate. So for people who barely work on real estate, who just wait and they just show houses here and there, they have no idea what they're actually doing, you're going to get washed out very soon, unfortunately. Or I don't know if it's fortunate, but unfortunately, the side gig that you have where you're thinking I'm just going to make money, you'll still have your license, but your income will be significantly less. So the guys who sell maybe 5 houses a year, you're going to sell 2 houses now. And then 3-4 years down the line, you're going to sell 1 house a year. There are agents I know who didn't sell more than 1 house this year. We're in at the end of August. More than half of the year went by. They have not sold more than 1 house. And the rule didn't even cut. Like, we're talking about August 17th, and people have not even. I'm talking about with the old rules, they only sold 1 house max. With the old rules, like, what do you think is going to happen to them when everything becomes about transparency and negotiation? And this is a good thing. I like to be transparent. I was telling one of my clients, I said, look, I consult people for free, but there's going to come a day I'm going to charge a consulting fee just for consulting with me, because I believe in the value that I can provide in my consulting. And right now it's going to be free, but I want to work to a point. You guys know there's a real thing called consultants, right? I don't want to be someone who buys and sells houses. I want to be someone who people come to for knowledge and information and direction and guidance in the realm of real estate. And that's what I want to provide to everybody else. So that's my whole thing. I said, look, I'm going to be transparent even about my future. Right now, my consulting fee is free, but there's going to come a point where you have to charge more money for that, whether it's 500 or 5,000. And people do that in the industry. Maybe we're not used to it. Maybe our circle of people are not used to it, but people value legitimate consultation, just like people value legitimate buyer agents. So these new, if you're a selling agent right now, if you're listing houses, you should advise your seller to offer the compensation, because you're maybe on a high thinking you got a great house and you got a great deal. You're going to be competing against so many agents on the selling industry if you don't become a part of the team and you try to, because what's happening is we have a lot of agents that are brown nosers right now. They're putting up videos saying, don't worry, you don't got to pay 6% anymore, I'm going to protect you. They're just brown nosing. All they're doing is just sucking up to get a desperate deal. Any agent that I see doing that, I'm like, man, this guy is desperate. He hasn't had a deal in a long time. Actual agents who maintain their professionalism are going to keep things the way they were. They're going to recommend the sellers to provide compensation to the buyer's agents. And the buyer agents will prepare their buyers to let them know you need to make sure you have the money ready with the 3% commission if needed, because if needed, I deserve to get paid for my services, and here's why. And in the midst of it, you have the transaction taking place. Like, just say the same way it did every single year before this year. Nothing needs to change. It's up to you how you do it. And the only good thing that came out of this settlement was that now buyers have to sign an agreement, and it puts people into awkward positions, maybe. And I understand that. But if you're a good agent, you'll have to do what's called a consultation, where you explain to your buyer why it's important for them, why it helps them to sign with you, not to die with you, but to sign with you where you can help them. And if they see your value, it should be a matter of time. And if they don't, you know what you do? You move on to the next client. They're not worth your time. Pick up the phone, make more phone calls. There are people who actually need your help. Don't get caught up with that cousin who's not giving you his business. He's not worth your time. This is an advice to the agents. Okay, if you're an agent, don't get caught up in this. Do what you're supposed to do. Provide your value. Keep posting. Keep posting your content. Keep posting your hard work and effort. People who recognize it will want to be with you. And then you say something like this, and this is going to really freak out people. I'm charging 3% commission, and I also charge a flat fee, and you have to pay me for both. Are you okay with that? If not, it's okay. I can guide you to an agent who can help you. But if you are, I'll give you my service from A to Z if you want to work with me. And that's my 2 cents for you guys. Maybe it brought some benefit. If you guys have any questions, ask me. If you feel you disagree with me, leave it in the comments. Tell me why you disagree, right? And then maybe I can have a follow-up discussion. But look, the NAR settlement happened. It's for the people who are ultra wealthy, for their settlement, for them to make money amongst each other. We're the people who are not ultra wealthy. We're not even rich. We need to make sure we keep the system as the status quo, keep it the way it is, and maintain the same level of work and effort throughout, whether you're a listing agent or a buying agent. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Assalamu alaikum.